never dated here because I saw vicariously through my roommate how terrible it was. Somehow getting drinks was the replacement of having coffee. And
Charlie Kirk didn't wake up one morning and let the internet plant seeds in his head. This doubt had already been living rent-free in his mind for a minute now. Long before any leaked tape started making the rounds, folks close to him say something just felt off, like the math wasn't mathing no matter how many times he ran it back. Erika's stories never lined up clean, timelines kept shifting, and every time Charlie pressed for clarity, he got answers that sounded rehearsed instead of real. And when someone starts explaining too much, that's usually when the truth is hiding in plain sight. People around him noticed the change too, the way his energy dipped, how he stopped defending things he used to protect without hesitation. That's not coincidence, that's intuition screaming when logic tries to stay quiet. Then the leaked audio dropped, and suddenly what felt like paranoia started sounding like confirmation. According to the tape, Erika was allegedly still in contact with her ex, not some harmless checking-in type situation, but conversations that sounded way too comfortable for someone who claimed that chapter was closed. The way the voices lined up, the dates mentioned, the emotional tone, it all painted a picture Charlie had been trying not to see.
I never dated here because I saw vicariously through my roommate how terrible it was. Somehow getting drinks was the replacement of having coffee and breakfast. I personally would rather have coffee or brunch with someone than going. I don't drink. I find it unproductive, not because I'm holier than whatever. I just don't operate that way. But I always thought it was very strange how she would go to drinks with one guy and then go to dinner with another.
And what shook people the most wasn't just the possibility of cheating. It was how long this might have been going on without him knowing. When trust gets cracked like that, it don't break clean, it splinters everywhere. Now here's where things really started heating up, because Charlie wasn't the only one raising eyebrows. His parents had reportedly been watching this unfold quietly for months, picking up on the same inconsistencies, the same odd gaps in stories, the same nervous energy whenever certain topics came up. Parents see things partners sometimes ignore, especially when emotions get in the way. They noticed dates that didn't align, explanations that changed depending on who asked, and moments where Erika seemed more defensive than confused. That's when concern turned into something heavier, something that couldn't just be brushed off with reassurance. And let's be clear, this wasn't about drama or control, this was about clarity. When the leaked tape surfaced, it didn't introduce a new problem, it confirmed an old one. Suddenly, those private family conversations weren't hypothetical anymore, they were urgent. Sources say Charlie had already been asking hard questions behind closed doors, questions about honesty, about loyalty, about whether everything he believed was actually true. That kind of doubt eats at you slowly, especially when you don't want the answer you might get. So when Charlie's parents allegedly pushed for a DNA test, it wasn't some random escalation, it was the final step after months of quiet concern. From their perspective, if timelines were shaky and trust was compromised, then facts were the only thing left that couldn't lie. A DNA test isn't about punishment, it's about certainty, about putting an end to the guessing and whispers. And while that suggestion alone sent shockwaves through everyone involved, people close to the situation say Charlie didn't reject the idea outright because deep down, he had already been circling the same thought himself. That's what made this whole situation hit harder than gossip ever could. This wasn't outsiders stirring mess, this was a family confronting doubts they tried to ignore until they couldn't anymore.
A picture of Erika Kirk, and I'm assuming her baby, but listen, look at her hands. I'm going to show you a picture of these scars. There's a scar right there. Zoom in on it if you need to.
And once a leaked tape brings private fears into the public light, there's no pretending everything is fine. Trust doesn't shatter all at once, it cracks piece by piece, and by the time you hear it break, it's already been damaged for a long time. Once the DNA test idea hit the table, the entire situation shifted from whispers to full-blown tension overnight. This wasn't about speculation anymore, this was about proof, and everybody involved knew there was no walking it back. Folks close to the situation say Erika didn't expect things to escalate that fast, especially not from inside the family circle. One minute it was private arguments and half-answered questions. The next minute it was a hard demand for facts that don't bend for anyone. And when the conversation turns to DNA, that's when emotions get real loud and excuses start sounding real thin. What made things even messier was how cleanly the leaked audio lined up with long-standing doubts. Dates mentioned in the tape reportedly overlapped with moments Erika had already explained away before. Moments Charlie had tried to let slide because trust was supposed to be there, but once those timelines started syncing up too perfectly, the benefit of the doubt evaporated fast. People say Charlie didn't even react with anger at first, it was more like disappointment mixed with clarity, the kind that hits when something finally makes sense, even if you hate the answer. Behind the scenes, the pressure kept building because a DNA test doesn't just question one moment, it questions the entire foundation, and that's what made this situation so heavy.
A picture of Erika Kirk with a ponytail, and from her past. That person matches who I saw at Fort Huachuca in the lobby the night before, and she was with that man in the lobby, and that man, he was present at that meeting.
If Erika wasn't honest about seeing her ex, then every other story suddenly came under review. Every late explanation, every sudden change of plans, every time intuition was ignored, it all came rushing back at once. That's how trust collapses, not in a single blow, but in a chain reaction that keeps spreading. Sources say Charlie wasn't being pushed into this as much as people think. He was already mentally there. His parents didn't create the doubt, they just gave it a direction. When someone you trust tells you to get answers instead of assumptions, that hits different, especially when they're saying out loud what you've been scared to admit to yourself. That's why the DNA test became the turning point, not because it accused anyone outright, but because it demanded truth without emotion attached. And let's talk about the public reaction, because once word got out, the internet did what it always does: choose sides instantly. Some people rushed to defend Erika, saying leaks can be misleading, and audio doesn't always tell the full story.
And that was until I hosted the first Trump rally in Trump rally history right here in Arizona in 2015. I got a call from Miss Erika Kirk, Miss Arizona 2012. I just want to help, she said. So naturally, I put her right behind the president at that first rally.
Others pointed out that leaks don't appear out of thin air, especially when there's already smoke behind the scenes. But what really stood out was how quiet things got from Erika's side after the DNA test conversation surfaced. Silence doesn't always mean guilt, but it definitely makes people listen harder. What's undeniable is this: leaked audio didn't create the problem, it exposed it. The DNA test didn't break the trust, it revealed how fragile it already was. Charlie wasn't reacting to rumors, he was responding to patterns that had been bothering him long before anyone else caught on. And when patterns stack up high enough, ignoring them becomes more painful than facing the truth. Now everybody's watching to see what happens next, not because they're rooting for chaos, but because this situation touches on something real: betrayal, doubt, and the moment you realize love doesn't protect you from being lied to. When family steps in, when proof gets requested, and when silence replaces reassurance, you're no longer dealing with what ifs, you're dealing with consequences. And once that door opens, there's no closing it quietly.